is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to today's Football Manager 2014 day roundup of the news for today. However, today I am going to be covering yesterday's news as well, so you've got a doubly long video today, and we're going to be talking about all the new features that were announced for yesterday, as well as today being the 4th of September 2013. So the first bit of news that we received yesterday was the fact that you can now save custom database setups. So within Football Manager, whenever you start up a new game, you have to kind of manually select the databases that you want set up and whatnot. On my computer, I have at least probably 15, maybe even 20 databases. So it'd be very useful if I could save preset kind of setup databases upon setting up a game. So that's a really nice addition, a bit of usability, nice to see that added, something that I wouldn't have thought I needed, but the more I think about it, the more I think, yeah, that's something that I could use. So that's a really nice addition. The next bit of news was the fact that you can now get asked a press conference question on the chairman's future when he announces that he intends to sell the club or during a club sale. So a nice little feature this, more press conference questions. I've covered this nearly every day because they seem to announce one every day, but just new press conference questions, just nice new additions to the game. The new addition, the third new addition that was announced yesterday was the fact that where appropriate, supporter-owned clubs won't sell to businessmen. Nice little addition. Obviously, supporter-owned clubs are becoming more and more prominent in modern-day football. SC United and Manchester are one, Portsmouth are one, I think Sao Paulo in Germany are one. If you know any more, leave them down in the comments, but they're just a few that spring to mind. So to have this kind of system whereby they're less likely to sell to businessmen is a very nice addition. And just adding to the sakes of realism, kind of giving supporter-owned clubs a bit of kind of unique features is something nice and something that I'd like to see kind of taken further. The next new feature is the fact that you can ask your director of football to find a player to play in a specific role or position. Really nice addition, this one that's been long overdue. The director of football as a whole is a pretty useless staff member from my own experience. I kind of feel like it's there for the sake of being there. Not a role I ever seem to use too much in FM. However, useful little features like this will certainly make me consider it a lot more. So that's a really nice addition. Added a bit more to the director of football that I certainly want to see more of. I'd also like to see maybe some new staff members added alongside the existing ones, and also some new features added to the ones that have already been announced. So anyway, on the same vein of the staff, it was also announced yesterday that there'll be a separate staff budget. At the moment, your wage budget compromises of your wage of your players and your staff's wages. Now they've revamped it. Staffs have their own budget. Really nice addition, long overdue. Something that I've been crying out for, and I feel like the game's been crying out for a while, especially with all the new staff members being added. And so to have this new separate staff budget is a really nice addition. Long overdue, as I've already said, and something that I think is going to add a lot to the game. The second to last new feature that was announced yesterday was the fact that there is a new news item explaining league contract rules when joining the MLS and A-League team. So on screen you can see a picture of the news item. Really nice addition, this one. I think a thing that puts people off the MLS is the custom rules, and having them explained in-game somewhere is something that hopefully will encourage more people to go to the MLS and at least try it. So that's a really nice addition. Obviously anything like that, just explaining stuff to new players or explaining some rules of a league that people aren't familiar with is a nice one, and something that I'm really glad they've added. And last but not least for yesterday, the last feature that was announced was the fact that press can now suggest a specific player is not the team's best player and is overrated. Bit of an interesting one, this one. I feel as if any new kind of press interaction's great, and this whole idea of maybe you have a star player who falls out of form and then the press suggest he's overrated being an addition in the game is a great one, and I think that's going to add something new with the press. I feel as if press conferences as a whole have been pretty stale. Obviously they're adding a whole load of new questions, and anything that they can kind of add that the press do within Football Manager that's going to have a wider effect maybe on hurting a player's morale, increasing the likelihood of a manager getting sacked, is a great little addition and something that I'm really looking forward to. So anyway guys, that was the news for yesterday, and now we're going to cover everything that was covered for today, the 4th of September. So let's get straight into this news. So the first of the new Football Manager 2014 features announced for today was the fact that there's now a levy on all transfer spending by Football League clubs invested into youth development. Now this is worded horribly. Probably levy isn't the best word to use here because It's not really the right word at all, but my understanding from what this is the fact that there'll now be restrictions in place. If you are a team who focus on their youth, a team like Crew, these teams that really have the good youth facilities, there's going to be some kind of implications or restrictions on your transfer spending. Maybe just the fact that you're invested into these other areas is factored into your transfer budget algorithm, kind of the maths that goes into working it out. But either way, an interesting one, and it means that if you are a team with good youth facilities, then you invest a lot of money into them as the board. You as the manager are going to have restrictions in place, which mean you probably can't spend as much as another club in a similar situation. So an interesting one. I'm assuming that's what it means, but again, we may find out nearer the time that it means something completely different. The second new addition today is a really minor one, if I'm all honesty. I'm not even going to bother covering this, but club badges on the match panel of the manager profile are now hyperlinked. So this is when you have a club badge on your next match, the match coming up. You can now click on the badge and it'll take you to the club you're playing's page off your profile. There's not a lot more I can add. Boring addition. I mean, hyperlinks are great, but it's not a news feature. I'm sorry, it's just not. Anyway, third feature, this one's a little bit better. New gen staff now get non-player traits. Now, if you don't know what they are, staff members have traits similar to how players have preferred moves. Staff have their own traits. New gen staff wouldn't get these traits though, and so if you got further enough into the game to the stage where you started having regens or new gens as staff members, they wouldn't have these traits, and so they were very limited compared to real staff members. So to see new gen staff members now getting these traits is a really nice addition, especially for people who play really long saves. It's a nice addition to the game, and if you're one of these people who likes to bring in regens and then after they retire you bring them in as coaches, it'll make them better coaches as a result. So a really nice feature there, long overdue, but nice to see it added. The next bit of news was the fact that multiple news stories now combine when players are injured or withdrawn or used as replacements. Now, I don't know if this means on international duty, in regular duty, maybe it's to do with your squad registration for competitions. Again, a really poorly worded one. Some of these, obviously, they're announcing these on Twitter. 140 characters isn't enough to announce these, and I appreciate they have to kind of cut them down into the short format, but here not a lot really explained. My understanding is that when players are injured or withdrawn for the same fixture, maybe one's injured and then one gets withdrawn or replaced, those two stories will merge together. Again, more of this condensing with the news story stuff. They've been going on about how they're trying to make the news system more efficient and more effective, and whilst they do seem to be doing this, they keep branding every time news stories get grouped together as a new feature, which I'm really not convinced about. Anyway, the next feature is the fact that you can multi-select players on the transfer panels. Now, this is something that I've never needed or wanted to do, but I can certainly see some uses for it. So on screen, you can see a screenshot here. Basically means that when players come into the club and you go on your transfer history panel, you can select more than one of them. Maybe give them a rest, ask them to train harder, maybe set a specific training schedule like fitness. But a nice addition. Anything that's usability like this is great. Not exactly a new feature, but something that I'm very, very excited about. The second to last announcement today was the fact that monthly board confidence updates now include financial fair play. So, although I don't really think financial fair play works in modern football, the fact it's been added into Football Manager is a nice addition. The fact it's now going to play a bigger role in terms of your job security and such is a really nice addition. And, just adding more and more features to FM like they're doing, big and small, these tiny things which altogether are going to make a big impact on the gameplay is really, really nice. So the inclusion of financial fair play is a good one. So it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. It'll be interesting to see as well if financial fair play changes. I think it was on FM Handheld 2012, where in 2028 I got to with a Luton save years ago. They removed work permits, and so I'm interested to see in FM this year, as you go through the years, will financial fair play restrictions maybe change over time? Could be an interesting one to keep an eye out for. Today's last announcement was the fact that French clubs now receive indemnity for international call-ups. I've totally butchered that word, and I'm guessing that 9/10 of the people here aren't going to know what this means. So I did a little bit of research, and basically what it means is that French clubs will receive a compensation fee when their players are called up for international call-ups. Now, presumably this happens in real life, and that's why it's been added, but it's going to be an interesting one. I'm kind of curious to see what kind of sums of money we're talking. I can't imagine it's going to be anything huge, but just the whole idea idea of teams getting paid compensation for a player going on international duty from presumably that country's FA is a pretty odd one, but it's a feature that's been added nevertheless. But anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this little update video letting you know about all the new features added for Football Manager 2014 from both yesterday and today. It's been a little bit of a longer video. It's taken a little bit longer to produce than normal. If you could give the video a like, it does help me out, keeps me motivated to keep doing these videos. Just one more thing is the fact that if you're wondering why wasn't there a news video yesterday, the reason for that being was because a new podcast went up on my channel that I'm involved in with a friend of mine called Ben. Go check that out on my channel. Awesome podcast. People are really loving it. I'd love to get some more opinions on it, so go check that out if you haven't already. And other than that, guys, it is me, Jack. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.